Welcome to Random Flyer, the podcast that brings you the true stories of New Zealand's airline history. And today, we're looking at Mount Cook Airlines Expatriate Avions de Transport Régional ATR-72 fleet. Some are in Bangladesh, some are in France, and some were turned into cafes. These are their stories. The ATR-72 is a twin-engine turboprop short-haul regional airliner, developed and produced in France and Italy by aircraft manufacturer ATR. It is a development of the ATR-42 and first flew in October 1988. The ATR-72 was originally available in two basic versions, the 100 series and 200 series, which differ only in the operating weights, and the 210 series, which was the hot and high version with the more powerful Pratt & Whitney Canada PW127 engines. The 212 is a 210, but with a passenger boarding door being shifted to the aft of the fuselage and being replaced by a large cargo door forward. They were followed by the ATR-72-212A, confusingly marketed as the ATR-72-500, which was an upgraded version of the 212 using six-bladed propellers on otherwise identical PW127F engines. Other improvements included higher maximum weights and superior performance, as well as greater automation of power management to ease pilot workload. Passenger comfort was improved with modifications to improve noise and vibration, including a revised cabin interior with noise reduction measures built into the airframe. Production is shared between Alina, now Leonardo SPA, who builds the fuselage and tail in their plant in Naples, Italy, while Aerospatiale, now Airbus, builds the wings at their facility in Saint-Nazaire. The major assemblies then come together at ATR's final assembly line in Blagnac in Toulouse. Mount Cook Airline has flown three variants of the ATR-72, the 212 and the 500 and 600. Today we're looking at the 212s and the 500s. These models are powered by two Pratt & Whitney Canada PW127 engines, which is a two-spool turboprop with two centrifugal compressor stages and a two-stage free turbine driving the propeller via a reduction gearbox. These engines produce 1,953 kilowatts each. The propellers on the 212s are four-bladed, hydraulically actuated, constant speed, fully feathering, reversible, composite Kevlar, Hamilton standard 247 F1 propellers, while the 500s are fitted with six-bladed, electronically controlled, constant speed, fully feathering, reversible, composite Kevlar, Hamilton standard 568 F1 propellers. During March 2012, the ATR-72-500 fleet was grounded after engineers found hairline cracks in the structure around the cockpit windows during routine maintenance in Christchurch. Several returned to service very quickly, but three required replacements of the affected window frame segments. The main operator of the type in New Zealand is Mount Cook Airline. This airline is 100% owned by Air New Zealand and flew Air New Zealand Link services to regional cities and was based in Christchurch. Since 2019, Mount Cook Airline was mostly subsumed into Air New Zealand, with the operator now only managing labour and human resources. The 212s were retired around the turn of the millennium and replaced with the 500 series, with all 7 212s being sent to Atrium Capital, ATR's in-house second-hand aircraft leasing and asset management company, for use by Atlantic Southeast Airlines to operate Delta Connection services in a similar arrangement that had existed between Mount Cook Airline and Air New Zealand. ZK-MCQ is an ATR-72-212 that was ordered new by Air New Zealand for Mount Cook Airline and was first flown at the ATR assembly facility in Toulouse-Blagnac in April 1995. It arrived in Christchurch on the completion of its delivery flight from France on Wednesday, 8 November 1995, entering the New Zealand Aircraft Register as ZK-MCQ. It was fitted with 66 economy class passenger seats and flew domestic services on behalf of Air New Zealand Link and was based in Christchurch. At the end of 1999, MCQ was withdrawn from use by Mount Cook Airlines and went to Atrium Capital, departing Christchurch on the delivery flight to France on Saturday, 4 December 1999. It spent 4 months in France before being leased to Delta Connection operator Atlantic Southeast Airlines and arrived in Atlanta, Georgia on Friday, 21 April 2000, where it was registered as N530AS. MCQ was the fifth of 7 ex-Mount Cook ATR-72s to go to Atlantic Southeast via Atrium. MCQ was withdrawn from use by Atlantic Southeast in April 2005 and returned to Atrium that October. It was then sold to government-owned Caribbean and Southeast airline Aero Caribbean of Havana, Cuba in March 2006, where it was registered as CUT1548. The plane was transferred to Cuba's national carrier, Cubana, when Aero Caribbean was merged with them on 1 April 2015 and remains with Cubana, age 31 years. ZK ZK-MCS is an ATR-72-212 that was ordered new by Air New Zealand for Mount Cook Airline and was first flown at the ATR assembly facility in Toulouse-Blagnac in May 1995. It arrived in Christchurch on the completion of its delivery flight on Sunday, 3 December 1995 and was registered ZK-MCS. It was fitted with 66 economy class passenger seats and flew domestic services on behalf of Air New Zealand Link and was based in Christchurch. Following service with Mount Cook Airline, MCQ was withdrawn from use in Christchurch in January 2000 and went to Atrium Capital, departing Christchurch for France on Tuesday, 11 January 2000. It spent several weeks in France before being leased to Delta Connection operator Atlantic Southeast Airlines, arriving in Atlanta, Georgia on Monday, 13 March 2000, where it was registered as N531AS. MCS was a third of 7 of the fleet to go to Atlantic Southeast via Atrium. Following the plane's withdrawal from use in February 2005, MCS was returned to Atrium in France, departing Atlanta on the ferry flight to Toulouse, where it was prepared for lease to Brazilian cargo and passenger airline operator Total Linhas Aéreas, entering the Brazilian aircraft register as PRTTI in June 2005. The acquisition was to help with Total's rapid expansion of their passenger service to fill the gaps in the market left by the collapsing national carrier Varig. In January 2008, Total's passenger flying was absorbed into Trip Linhas Aéreas. The lease for MCS was transferred from Total in May that year. However, the aircraft was damaged beyond repair while landing at Altamira in Brazil on 21 February 2011. During the landing roll, the left main gear assembly failed, causing the plane to deviate off the runway, coming to rest in a grassy area. There were no fatalities among the 51 occupants. The aircraft was deemed to be uneconomical to repair and was written off, with the fuselage being transported by road to Sao Paulo for use as a ground training aid. However, by 2014, it was observed being used as a cafe in Serra Dourada Mall in Brazil, where it remains aged 31 years. ZK-MCC is an ATR-72-212 that was ordered new by Air New Zealand for Mount Cook Airline and was first flown at the ATR assembly facility in Toulouse-Blagnac in June 1995. The plane arrived in Christchurch on the completion of its delivery flight from France on Thursday, 5 October 1995 and was registered ZK-MCC. It was fitted with 66 economy class passenger seats and flew domestic services on behalf of Air New Zealand Link and was based in Christchurch. In its final year of service with Mount Cook Airline, on Monday 26 July 1999, MCC was involved in a loss of separation incident inside the Queenstown CTA during arrival. A Boeing 737 was conducting a right-hand circling instrument approach inside the control area in marginal VFR weather, while MCC was arriving visually from the east at low level along the Kawarau Gorge. Committed to flying through the gorge in deteriorating weather, MCC was unable to hold at the Bungee Bridge reporting point as instructed and entered the zone without a clearance, infringing the separation requirements for the two aircraft. MCC landed 1 minute ahead of the faster Boeing 737. Following service with Mount Cook Airline, MCC was withdrawn from use in Christchurch in October 1999 and went to Atrium Capital, departing Christchurch on the ferry flight to France on Saturday, 4 December 1999. It spent 4 weeks in France before being leased to Delta Connection operator Atlantic Southeast Airlines, arriving in Atlanta, Georgia on 14 January 2000, where it was registered N535AS. MCC was the first of 7 ex-Mount Cook ATR-72s to go to Atlantic Southeast via Atrium, deliveries taking place once or twice a month until May 2000. MCC was withdrawn from use by Atlantic Southeast in April 2005 and returned to Atrium Capital. While in Toulouse, the aircraft was prepared for sale to government-owned B&H Airlines of Sarajevo. MCC was the first of 2 to go to B&H via Atrium, along with MCL. While in service with B&H, MCC was involved in a runway excursion at Copenhagen Airport runway 22 left. The excursion occurred due to uncommanded asymmetric ground idle during the landing roll, with the right engine failing to engage. They veered off into the grass for about 350 metres before the pilots regained control and re-entered the runway. None of the 42 occupants on board were injured. However, B&H Airlines temporarily suspended flight operations due to financial difficulties between March 4 and March 8, 2013, owing €3.5 million. The airline had lost the backing and the lease of a Turkish Airlines A319, leaving the B&H fleet particularly vulnerable, and from the end of February 2013, the company had began cancelling flights due to airplane availability due to maintenance requirements. Without the support of Turkish Airlines, the financial position of the airline deteriorated further, and the company was liquidated by the government of the Federation of Bosnia and Herzegovina, owing €17 million, and the aircraft was withdrawn from service and placed in long-term storage in Sarajevo in June 2015, where it was broken up 2 years later, aged 22 years. ZK ZK-MCW is an ATR-72-212 that was ordered new by Air New Zealand for Mount Cook Airline and was first flown at the ATR assembly at Toulouse-Blagnac in June 1995. The plane arrived in Christchurch on the completion of its delivery flight from France on Tuesday, 20 June 1995, entering the New Zealand Aircraft Register as ZK-MCW. It was fitted with 66 economy class passenger seats and flew domestic services on behalf of Air New Zealand Link and was based in Christchurch. Following service with Mount Cook Airline, MCW was withdrawn from use in Christchurch in January 2000 and went to Atrium Capital, departing Christchurch on the ferry flight to France on Tuesday, 18 January 2000. It spent 2 months in France before being leased to Delta connection operator Atlantic Southeast Airlines, arriving at Atlanta, Georgia on Friday, 31 March 2000, where it was registered as N532AS. MCW was the fourth of 7 ex-Mount Cook ATR-72s to go to Atlantic Southeast via Atrium, deliveries taking place once or twice a month until May 2000. MCW was withdrawn from use by Atlantic Southeast in February 2005 and returned to Atrium, where it was prepared for lease to privately held domestic and international air service operator Air Bagan of Myanmar, where it was registered as XYAIE. However, the aircraft was destroyed while taking off from Patau, Myanmar on Tuesday, 19 February 2008. During the takeoff roll, the captain noticed asymmetric engine thrust and decided to reject the takeoff. Unable to stop within the remaining distance, the aircraft overran, rolled for about 30 metres and collided with an embankment, coming to rest broken in two. All 57 occupants evacuated safely, but the plane was written off, age 12 years. ZK-MCX is an ATR-72-212 that was ordered new by Air New Zealand for Mount Cook Airline and was first flown at the ATR assembly facility in Toulouse-Blagnac in August 1995. The plane arrived in Christchurch on the completion of its delivery flight from France on Tuesday, 18 January 1996, entering the New Zealand Aircraft Register as ZK-MCX. It was fitted with 66 economy class passenger seats and flew domestic services on behalf of Air New Zealand Link and was based in Christchurch. Following service with Mount Cook Airline, MCX was withdrawn from use in Christchurch in February 2000 and went to Atrium Capital, departing on the ferry flight to France on Saturday, 5 February 2000. It spent 3 months in France before being leased to Delta connection operator Atlantic Southeast Airlines, arriving in Atlanta, Georgia on Thursday, 27 April 2000, where it was registered as N533AS. MCX was the 7th of 7 ex-Mount Cook ATR-72s to go to Atlantic Southeast via Atrium. MCX was withdrawn from use in Atlanta in May 2005 and ferried to Montreal in Canada for storage until February the following year, when it was returned to Atrium. While with Atrium, it was prepared for lease to Tanzanian airline Precision Air, where it was registered as 5HPAR in May 2006. On 8 July 2008, while in service with Precision, MCX had a runway excursion on landing at Nairobi's Jomo Kenyatta International Airport runway 06. The plane veered to the right, went over a ditch and came to a stop on a taxiway when the nose wheel collapsed. The 4 crew and 62 passengers were not injured, but the aircraft itself was substantially damaged. The probable cause of this accident was power asymmetry during application of reverse thrust on landing because the control levers were jammed in one position. MCS was withdrawn from service and returned to Atrium in January 2010, when it was prepared for lease to Sub-Saharan African regional cargo flight operator Solenta Aviation of South Africa, where it was subleased to air shuttle and charter services operator Federal Air of South Africa, being entered onto the South African register there as ZSXCB in April 2010. The plane was returned to Solenta Aviation at the end of the sublease that December and subleased to British Airways from May 2011 until February 2012. Senegal Airlines from March 2012 till July 2013, and to Africa Aviation of Gabon from July till November 2013. The plane was leased again to Africa Aviation from 2015 to 2019, when it was flown to Coeur d'Alene Airport in Idaho, United States for conversion to cargo aircraft, the first of 2 ex-Mount Cook Airlines planes modified there, and returned to Solenta Aviation in Gabon as TRXCH, before being sold to ACIA in December 2013 to be operated by Airlink as VHAK2, for whom it remains working in Australia, age 31 years. ZK-MCY is an ATR-72-212 that was ordered new by Air New Zealand for Mount Cook Airline and was first flown at the ATR assembly facility in Toulouse-Blagnac in September 2005. It arrived in Christchurch on the completion of its delivery flight from France on Friday, February 9, 1996, entering the New Zealand Aircraft Register as ZK-MCY. It was fitted with 66 economy class passenger seats and flew domestic services on behalf of Air New Zealand Link and was based in Christchurch. Following service with Mount Cook Airlines, MCY was withdrawn from use in Christchurch in February 2000 and went to Atrium Capital, departing on the delivery flight to France in March 2000. It spent 2 months in France before being leased to Delta connection operator Atlantic Southeast Airlines, arriving in Atlanta, Georgia, Wednesday, May 24, 2000, where it was registered as N534AS. MCY was withdrawn from use by Atlantic Southeast in March 2005 and returned to Atrium the following month. Following service in the United States, MCI was leased to Total Linea Sirius in Brazil in April 2005, where it was registered as PRTTJ and ferried Atlanta to Brazil in an all-white livery that month. MCY flew on Total's expanding regional network until January 2008, when the airline's passenger flying was absorbed into Trip Linea Sirius, and, like with MCQ, the lease for MCY was transferred from Total in May that year. It was withdrawn from service in March 2013 and stored at Belo Horizonte, where it was converted to a cargo airplane and sold to Salenta Aviation of South Africa in December 2013, entering the South African aircraft register as ZS-XCA. It was the second of two Mount Cook ATR-72s to go to Salenta after MCX went to them in April 2010. In 2017, Salenta Aviation started flying for DHL in Côte d'Ivoire, and the airplane was moved there, being registered there as TUTRN. On 16 March 2025, while operating for DHL, the plane departed Lagos, Nigeria, bound for Burkina Faso, but was diverted to Lome Airport due to a missing nose landing gear wheel, which was discovered during takeoff. The aircraft landed safely at Lome, with only one wheel remaining on its nose landing gear. The aircraft sustained no damage and there were no injuries, fatality, and the plane remains flying there, age 31 years. ZK-MCL is an ATR-72-212 that was ordered new by Air New Zealand for Mount Cook Airline and was first flown at the ATR assembly facility in Toulouse-Blagnac in October 1995. It arrived in Christchurch on the completion of its delivery flight from France on Thursday, 26 October 1995, entering the New Zealand aircraft register as ZK-MCL. It was fitted with 66 economy class passenger seats and flew domestic services on behalf of Air New Zealand Link and was based in Christchurch. Following service with Mount Cook Airline, MCL was withdrawn from use in Christchurch in November 1999 and went to Atrium Capital, departing on the ferry flight to France on Thursday, 25 November 1999. It spent 3 months in France before being leased to Delta connection operator Atlantic Southeast Airlines, arriving in Atlanta, Georgia on Thursday, 3 February 2000, where it was registered as N356AS. MCL was a second of 7 Mount Cook ATR-72s to go to Atlantic Southeast via Atrium, deliveries taking place once or twice a month until May 2000. It was withdrawn from service in Atlanta in December 2004 and left on the ferry flight to Toulouse on return to Atrium to be prepared for lease to B&H Airlines of Sarajevo, Bosnia, where it entered the Bosnian aircraft register there as T9AAE. It was the first of 2 ex-Mount Cook Airline ATR-72s to go to B&H Airlines, with MCC arriving the following May. It was also fitted with an extra 8 passenger seats, bringing the total to 74. As with MCC, the aircraft was re-registered on the new Bosnian aircraft register as E7AAE in February 2009. And as with MCC, MCL was grounded for a week in March 2013 due to financial difficulties facing the struggling airline, and the aircraft was withdrawn from use and stored in Germany in April 2015, ahead of the airline's liquidation in June that year. Parting out was commenced in Germany in August 2017 and completed by 2019, with the airplane aged 24 years. ZK-MCA is an ATR-72-500 that was ordered new by Air New Zealand for Mount Cook Airline and was first flown at the ATR assembly facility in Toulouse-Blagnac in September 1999. It arrived in Christchurch on the completion of its delivery flight on Thursday, 14 October 1999, and entered the New Zealand aircraft register as ZK-MCA. It was fitted with 66 economy class passenger seats and flew domestic services on behalf of Air New Zealand Link, and it was based in Christchurch. While in service with Mount Cook Airline, MCA experienced a smoke in cockpit while operating flight NZ5231 from Auckland to New Plymouth. The incident occurred during the departure from Auckland, and the crew stopped the climb at around flight level 116 to return to the airport. MCA flew in the Pacific Wave livery until January 2016, when it was ferried to Townsville for repainting by Flying Colours. It operated its last revenue service for Air New Zealand on Sunday, 23 July 2017, and later that week was test flown for Novo Air of Bangladesh, to whom it was sold and registered as S2AHQ. The plane departed Christchurch for the ferry flight to Ho Chi Minh City, Vietnam on Wednesday, 16 August 2017, where it underwent maintenance and repainting for the new operator, including the addition of 2 passenger seats, bringing the total to 68. It was the first of 4 Mount Cook Airline ATR-72s to go to Novo Air, and it flew for Novo Air until 2022 and is now parked there, age 27 years. ZK ZK-MCF is an ATR-72-500 that was ordered new by Air New Zealand for Mount Cook Airline and was first flown at the ATR assembly facility in Toulouse-Blagnac in November 1999. It arrived in Christchurch on the completion of its delivery flight on Tuesday, 23 November 1999, entering the New Zealand Aircraft Register as ZK-MCF. MCF was fitted with 66 economy class passenger seats and flew domestic services on behalf of Air New Zealand Link and was based in Christchurch. This aircraft was the first ATR-72 to be repainted into the silver fern livery in Townsville in September 2014. MCF operated its final revenue service in Invercargill to Christchurch on Sunday, 6 May 2018, and later that week was test flown for Novo Air, to whom it was sold and registered as S2AJL. The plane departed Christchurch on the ferry flight to Ho Chi Minh City, Vietnam on Thursday, 24 May 2018, where it underwent maintenance and repainting for the new operator, including the addition of 2 passenger seats, bringing the total to 68. It was the third of 4 Mount Cook Airlines ATR-72s to go to Novo Air, and it currently flies for them based in Dakar and is aged 26 years. ZK-MCO is an ATR-72-500 that was ordered new by Air New Zealand for Mount Cook Airline and was first flown at the ATR assembly facility in Toulouse-Blagnac in December 1999. It arrived in Christchurch on the completion of its delivery flight on Tuesday, 28 December 1999, entering the New Zealand Aircraft Register as ZK-MCO. It was fitted with 66 economy class passenger seats and flew domestic services on behalf of Air New Zealand Link and was based in Christchurch. MCO was repainted in Townsville by flying colours into the airline's silver fern livery, being ferried there for that work in April 2015. While flying for Mount Cook Airline, MCO returned to an airport following discovery of an electrical odour in the cabin. The flight was from Christchurch to Wellington, and the crew stopped the climb at flight level 100 and returned to Christchurch, landing about 20 minutes after the departure. The plane was checked over and returned to service 3 hours after landing. MCO flew its final Mount Cook revenue service on Monday, 29 October 2018, where it underwent maintenance and preparation for sale to Air Chatham's, including the addition of 2 seats, bringing the total to 68. The plane was handed over to Chatham's on Friday, 18 January 2009, and currently flies with them aged 27 years. ZK-MCP is an ATR-72-500 that was ordered new by Air New Zealand for Mount Cook Airline and was first flown at the ATR assembly factory in Toulouse-Blagnac in January 2000. It arrived in Christchurch on the completion of its delivery flight on Tuesday, 25 January 2000 and entered into the New Zealand Aircraft Register as ZK-MCP. It was fitted with 66 economy class passenger seats and flew domestic services on behalf of Air New Zealand Link and was based in Christchurch. In December 2009, MCP experienced a severe turbulence encounter about 50 nautical miles north of Christchurch. Although no injuries or damage resulted from the incident, the Transport Accident Investigation Commission subsequently made a safety recommendation regarding the clarity of information about hazardous meteorological conditions. MCP was ferried Christchurch to Townsville in May 2015 to be repainted by flying colours into the airline's new silver fern livery. It continued flying for Mount Cook Airline until the company was partially wound up in December 2019, with the fleet being absorbed into the Air New Zealand operation. It was withdrawn from Air New Zealand service and stored in Christchurch from February 2020 until July 2021, when it was bought by Atrium Capital and flown to Toulouse in France. It remained there until 2023, when it was converted to cargo aircraft, leased to French cargo airline Air 65 as FHEMY. It remains parked in Toulouse except for having done 1 flight to Gran Canaria in November 2025 and is aged 27 years. ZK-MCU is an ATR-72-500 that was ordered new by Air New Zealand for Mount Cook Airline. It was first flown at the ATR assembly facility in Toulouse-Blagnac in February 2000. It arrived in Christchurch on the completion of its delivery flight on Friday, 25 February 2000 and entered the New Zealand Aircraft Register as ZK-MCU. It was fitted with 66 economy class passenger seats and flew domestic services on behalf of Air New Zealand Link and was based in Christchurch. MCU flew for Mount Cook Airlines on behalf of Air New Zealand Link until the company was partially wound up in December 2019, with the fleet being absorbed into Air New Zealand Limited of Auckland. MCU operated its final Air New Zealand service on 7 February 2020 and went into storage in Christchurch until 6 May 2022, when it was sold to Air Chatham's. It flew with Air Chatham's from May 2022 until 27 April 2026 before going into storage, aged 27 years. ZK-MCW is an ATR-72-500 that was ordered new by Air New Zealand for Mount Cook Airline and was first flown at the ATR assembly facility in Toulouse-Blagnac in February 2000. It arrived in Christchurch on the completion of its delivery flight on Tuesday 26 September 2000 and entered the New Zealand Aircraft Register as ZK-MCW. While in service with Mount Cook Airline on 30 November 2013, MCW experienced a smoke in cockpit incident. The plane was operating flight NZ5071 from Auckland to Palmerston North with 52 passengers on board. It was in a climb departing Auckland Airport when the crew reported smoke in the cockpit. The plane returned to land and was evacuated. A fire service spokesperson said the engineers were unable to find signs of fire and believe it was most likely steam coming from an air conditioning unit. MCW operated its final Mount Cook revenue service Wellington to Christchurch as NZ5373, November 26, 2017, and went into storage in Christchurch before being sold to Novo Air, registered as S2AJK. It was the third of 4 Mount Cook Airline ATR-72 500s to go to Novo Air. MCW departed Christchurch on its ferry flight to Indonesia on Friday, 5 January 2018. On 9 September 2018, while with Novo Air, MCW lost an engine panel from its left engine while operating flight VQ935 from Dakar to Cox's Bazar. The plane landed safely at Cox's Bazar. MCW remains with Novo Air and is active with them aged 26 years. MCX is an ATR-72 500 that was ordered new by Air New Zealand for Mount Cook Airline and was first flown at the ATR assembly facility in Toulouse-Blagnac in July 2002. It arrived in Christchurch on the completion of its delivery flight on Thursday, 23 July 2002 and entered the New Zealand Aircraft Register as ZK-MCX. It was fitted with 66 economy class passenger seats and flew domestic services on behalf of Air New Zealand Link and was based in Christchurch. MCX operated its final Mount Cook revenue service Dunedin to Christchurch on Thursday, 8 August 2019, and went into storage in Christchurch before being sold to Novo Air, registered with them as S2AJM. It was the third of 4 Mount Cook Airline ATR-72 500s to go to Novo Air. MCX has been parked at Dakar since September 2025 and is aged 24 years.